to the Making Up the Numbers podcast. The Making Up the Numbers podcast is sponsored by Hope Technology, Revolution Bike Park, and the world's finest independent mountain bike magazine, Singletrack.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of the Making Up the Numbers podcast. I'm George Thompson, and we're doing something a little bit different tonight. With the studio shut due to the coronavirus outbreak, we're recording this podcast via Zoom, and the video will be available if you prefer to watch us chat on the Singletrack YouTube channel. Co-hosting with me tonight once again is Jack Redding. How you doing, Jack?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
All good, mate. All good. You keeping yourself entertained?
Yeah, just about. In these strange times we're living in. There is one plus side, though. The wife can't go to work, so I've got a live-in maid. So it's fine.
So this should have been a post kind of World Cup round 1 episode, and we should all be frothing at the mouth at the season that lies ahead. But instead, we're all locked behind closed doors. Well, how are you feeling the time?
Yeah, I mean it's just weird. All that build up, we're ready to go, and then all of a sudden we're stuck in limbo. So yeah, just usual stuff, training and milling around, and there's not a lot we can do. But yeah.
You were out in Portugal, weren't you? Was that right when you heard that the first round was cancelled?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a nightmare. We left on the Monday morning at 10, and we got to Spain at 1 p.m. lunchtime on the Tuesday, and we were all ready to have a good 2 weeks. About 4 hours later, we found out everything was cancelled. So that was obviously a real bummer. We thought, excuse me, we thought we got 2 weeks. We can do some training and riding, and then 5 or 6 days into the trip, we found out that we were going to have to leave because Spain was shutting down the borders. So yeah, it was an expensive trip, 3,500 mile for 6 days. But these things happen, you know. Everyone in the world's suffering from it. So yeah. It was what it was.
Yeah. It's a completely rubbish start to the year, to the season. But, it'll be what it'll be. So let's crack on. Our guest tonight doesn't really need any introduction. We'll be here all night if we start listing everything he's won. So let's just say he's the 2-time world champion, the current British national champion. It's Danny Hart. Welcome to the show, Danny.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
How are you getting on with the lockdown?
Yeah, it's not been too bad for me, really. I've been treating it like a little bit of a training camp, if you like, because all you're allowed to do is exercise outside. I've maybe pushed my hour a little bit, but I've been out on the road bike a few times, and I haven't been doing anything too dangerous. So I've stayed on the road. I haven't gone off road because with the NHS and all this stuff, I don't want to be putting them under too much pressure. And I've been pushing my social media because that's all we can do right now with all these brands that sponsor us to go racing and be in the spotlight. It's really difficult now with just having social media, I guess. And
yeah, we've just got to be content creators now for a bit, haven't we?
Yeah, and I think I am getting a little bit better at it through this time, because I usually, I still do, hate talking into my phone. I'll often put my phone up to film myself talking, and just turn it off. Yeah.
Some people are just naturals at it, aren't they? And it,
yeah.
I'd find it really awkward.
And then another thing is it's showing our sponsors what we can actually do with social media. So we're maybe shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit, because they're going to want even more even when the season starts, maybe.
Well, you had a really busy off season. You got married, and little Sadie was born. How are you finding fatherhood?
It's been really good. Like Sadie was born, and then a couple of days later, I flew out to Portugal to do some testing with the team. Yeah. Sophia's mum was here, so that enabled me to go and do what I had to do for a few days. If it wasn't for her, then I wouldn't have been able to go. So. I think we've gone through a few of the stages of having a baby already. Like the first 2 weeks, she seemed to sleep really quite well, and we were like, "Oh, this is amazing! We've got
an easy one."
Yeah.
And then as time went by, it all changed a little bit, and then she'd sleep all day, and then 9 o'clock would come and we'd turn the lights out to go to sleep, and her eyes would open, and then
I've
we'd be
been there,
awake
mate.
until midnight, I think it was, and then now she's just doesn't really sleep too much at all. So I found myself in the spare room trying to get a good night's sleep. But
How old is she now?
yeah, she'll be just over 6 weeks.
Right.
18th of
Really
February
early
she was
days, yeah.
born.
And is Sophia loving having you at home?
Yeah, Sophia's been really good with Sadie. Like it's hard for me to do anything, to be honest. But I think Sophia's happy that I'm here for the first few months of Sadie's life, and she's also quite happy I'm home because it means she's not missing the first World Cup.
Yeah.
'Cause she was a little bit gutted about that with her being a big part of my programme, and for the last 5 or 6 years she hasn't missed a World Cup. So, and she wasn't meant to be coming to Louser, so she's probably secretly buzzing that it got cancelled.
Yeah, so I was going to ask actually, like obviously after such a busy off season with all that stuff going on, when Loser got postponed, were you kind of secretly thinking, oh, that's quite nice that's going to be a bit later, or were you chomping at the bit? Were you ready to go?
No, I was ready. I'd been working as hard as I could through the time. I'd been training a lot, but I had a lot of other things going on around training, so that didn't allow me to maybe rest as much as I would have liked. But like I was saying before, I'm treating this now like a little bit of a training camp, because all I can do is train and be in my house, whereas before I would train and then meet my friend for coffee or go and do this, go to the bike shop, go and just mince around. Whereas now it's train, be in the house,
Train again.
be in the house, that's it. So I'm trying to see the best in it, even though it is a really bad situation that we're in, and I don't know when we'll go racing. So
If we will. Well,
that's true.
But in a bid to be a bit more professional, I've tried to steer away from the kind of stories and anecdotes this season on the podcast. But if you'll kind of forgive me this once, because this leads quite nicely into where I'd like to start. And it's about the first time we met. I don't expect you to remember that, Danny. But do you have any recollection of when it was?
No, I've got no idea.
Well,
Sorry.
I can tell you, it was Saturday the 17th. Saturday the 17th of May 2014. It was at the SDA at A Forest. And there's a reason that I remember it so clearly, and it's not because I'm some kind of like psycho stalker. Bear in mind that that SDA was my second ever downhill event, and you'd already been world champion. So I don't think I've ever mentioned it on the podcast before, but my day job, I'm a live event producer, and I'm really lucky. I get to work with some pretty high profile people. And the reason I remember our first meeting so vividly is that on the Thursday before that, the 15th of May, I was in London. I was producing an awards ceremony. And I either had Kim Kardashian and Kanye West there or Paris Hilton. I can't remember which one of those it was, but I remember I had Richard E. Grant there. I had Alicia Dixon doing a live performance and a host of others. And I'm the producer of this show, so it's my job to manage all these people and to, you know, basically make sure they're doing what we need them to do. And you've got to be a pretty confident kind of guy to be able to make that happen. You need to be able to break the ice pretty quickly. Anyway, it all goes well. The show finishes the early hours of Friday morning. And then on Friday afternoon, I drive up from London all the way up to A. And on Saturday morning, I'm sat on the uplift bus and you sit down next to me. And as well, you know, it's quite a long uplift at A. But I didn't say a single word to you till we got off. And then I think I managed to, all right.
Stage fright.
because it's like, it's Danny fucking Hart, innit? Yeah.
I'm all doing the same thing.
I'm just going to look like a dick here. Whatever I say, I'm going to look like a dick. And the fact that I'd gone from meeting these kind of, managing these kind of mega stars, I suppose that's how you classify them, to kind of being dumbstruck and not saying a word to you. It's always really stuck with me. And I'm guessing the hype, the kind of hysteria all stems from that World Champs run in Champery and the press that came from that. First question, how did that run kind of change your life? And did the video, the one we've all watched a million times, kind of have a bigger impact than winning the World Champs title itself?
Well, I was asked this recently in another interview that I just did. It's quite difficult to answer like what it did for me, because it's all it just happens, and you don't really, when you're young, you don't really think about it. It's all you just take it in your stride. So it probably did open a lot of doors for me. There was a lot of press. I was going all over to bike shows and here, there and everywhere, getting pulled from pillar to post. So then there was also new sponsors, and I got new parts on my bike. I was with Rock Shocks at the time, and I was on the Black Box program, and I think it was a shock that they just brought out, and they sort of put my name on it, and I was in all the test videos and stuff like that. And the main thing that changed for me was I sort of secured myself as being one of the elite riders that can actually win, not just thinks he can win, or maybe he's won nationals or he's done this, but I actually won at the top level, and I had been knocking on the door all season. So I think the biggest impact was my riding. I don't think, even still, I don't, if I want to show someone that video, I don't start it with, oh, this video's got 5 million, 6 million views. I just show them that's how I became world champion. It's not.
It's like, it's arguably, well, it is the most famous downhill run in history. Pinkbike did a favourite run of the last decade poll at the end of last year. I don't know if you saw that, and it had over double the number of votes of the next contender, which was Gwyn's chainless run in Leogang. Would you still do a run like that now, whipping that last jump?
I think I'd ride exactly the same, like 99% of it, I guess. And maybe now, with hindsight and knowing how tight the gaps are, maybe wouldn't have done the whip. But who knows? Like, it depends. It depends how I was feeling on the day. And I probably told myself I wasn't going to do that then as well. I got to it, and I did. So
when you were on the bike on that run, remembering back, did it feel as sensational as it turned out to be? Because that's the only word you can use for it.
I guess when I think back, it was just a normal run for that week. Like, no, that full week, like, it didn't really change. Like, my run didn't really change much, even with the conditions. I did all the same lines and everything. Like, I don't know if you've ever ridden Champery, but there's some switchbacks at the top, and on the World Cup, you can cut one of them, and you can either go around or you can go.
I know exactly which one you mean.
And I still did the inside and stuff like that, where I don't feel like anybody else did. And then I did that, like, near vertical drop in the woods off the video, and I just treat it exactly the same, because, like, it's one of them things with it being the world champs, it's all or nothing. So if I'd have fallen off 7 seconds up, then I was 7 seconds up, and it was all going to be really good. I could have fallen off and still gone and won, but it would have only been by a second maybe. But no, I don't like. I think that run that day was maybe a little bit ahead of its time. Like, I think if that run would have still been good enough in a couple, 2, 3, 4 years on.
100%.
Yeah,
nice. Well, so that was 2011, and then by your standards, you went a bit quiet, and then came back with a big bang in 2016, and then won rounds 5, 6, and 7 of the series, and then went on to win world champs. We saw Josh do that a couple of years before, and then Omri did it in 2018. How important is confidence to you? And did you feel you were a level above or unbeatable at any stage during that 2016 season? What was going on during that year when you were?
Confidence is like a massive thing. Like, all of 2016, I was having a really good year. I trained really hard, so I took a lot of confidence from that. I was using a mental coach, so that's more stuff to take confidence from. My bike was good, so that's more confidence. I had Sophia with me, my mechanic was excellent. The team was really good that year, so I was I had confidence in everything. But one thing I try not to do is take confidence from results, because, as you've seen from myself, when the results go away, and what happens with your confidence just drops. So, like, if you have like a bucket and you fill it with everything, with and it's brimming with confidence from winning races, and then you lose a race and you lose another race, and then other things might happen, and then your confidence is all the way down in the dumps, and you haven't got anything from that. So I do try and take confidence from other areas other than actually the results, from
areas that you're more in control of, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, you can do whatever you can in a race, and you're not in control of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely try and take confidence in other areas other than results. But if a happy racer is a fast racer, and good results make you happy, so it's a fine line of figuring it all out.
They're almost like the icing on the cake, I guess.
Definitely. Yeah, I didn't think I was unbeatable on that day because, it's hard. Like, I had 3 good races, obviously, so I was brimming with confidence, as you would be. Like, walking around, like, look at me, I'm winning everything at the moment. But I took confidence for the last race of that season with the World Champs. In my preparation, I'd had good races. I had a good bike under me, and had everything all squared away, and it was all just down to me. So, and I'd been to Val di Sole previously to practice, to test some stuff and ride the track, because you know how brutal that track is. And when you turn up and you do a first run on Friday, it's absolutely like, what the hell am I going to do here? This is just like an absolute nightmare. I don't know where to start. But I'd already had that previously. Every year I've been to Val di Sole to do some 2 or 3 days before the race, because every time I do go and practice there, after my first 3 runs, I'm thinking, thank God I'm not going to feel like this 3 or 4 runs into my first day of practice at a World Cup. Yeah. And you can do it, the track's open, so why not? So I'd done everything in my power that day for the World Champs to sort of have the feeling that I'm unbeatable, because I'd done everything that I could. And
you had full belief in yourself going into the race run. Nice.
Chronologically, the next thing that stands out to me, the next thing I remember was Val Nord the following year.
Yeah.
That was a wild run. How close were you to crashing when you got booked on that final section?
Yeah, I guess it was pretty close. I mean, like, you get to there and you're tired, like, your arms, I don't really get arm pump, I guess, but like, you will be tired just through what you've done previously to that. I think, have you both ridden, well, obviously Jack's ridden, have you ridden it, George? You know what it's like. And it was really hot, so the bike's probably not working as efficiently as you'd like. And I got down there, and you're that close to the finish, you just want to push that extra bit. So, yeah, it's pretty close, but you do have moments like that. Well, I do anyway, quite often.
How many times do you crash in a season, Danny? And how close to the edge of crashing are you, in a World Cup weekend?
I think, like, through practice, I'll crash maybe a few times. Some weekends I'll crash a couple of times. But come the race runs, like, I'd like to think that I've got everything figured out. I know how hard I can push in this section, that section. So I don't crash as much as some guys do, but I do crash a little bit. Like 2017, I had quite a tough year. I crashed a few times. Obviously, we had Lords, the first World Cup, which is a little bit of an outlier. But then I crashed in Val di Sole, and then I crashed in Fort William. So that's 3 races there that were just done. So,
is that the one when you did that massive bruise on your leg? Was that Fort William? I remember seeing.
Fort William was when it was that horrible bog and stuff in the trees.
Oh, yeah.
That horrible bruise was 2015, that hematoma.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to then 2018, the title of the season video for you guys was Chasing 0.3 after the 2018 World Champs. How hard was that result to take, and do you feel like it made it easier for you finishing 3rd, not 2nd, or was it a tough one?
I guess I'd rather have finished 2nd. So why do you think? You tell me why you think.
Because the Euro rider finished second, yeah.
The bonus would have been a little bit better.
Oh, the
second.
bonus. Okay. Yeah, fair point.
But no, that race, like, you're racing to win. Like I just said about Champery, like, if I'd have fallen off, it would have mattered. Yes, it definitely would have mattered. But when you're racing for that one race, it's all or nothing on the day. So you're racing to win. And being that close, yeah, it really sucked. But I had a good run. And I was beaten. That was that, like, everybody, I say everybody, the two people that beat me rode fantastic. But I was just really happy also to bring a whole medal home.
Yeah.
For Madison Saracen. It was I'm pretty sure that was their first senior medal at the World Championships in the men's class.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got beat by better people on the day, and I was my best self on the day. So,
did that leave you hungry at the end of last season?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, not so much, to be fair. I'm always not like now going into the new season. Like after winning the World Cup, like I did last year, I was really raring to go into this year, but not so like a third at World Champs. It wasn't like. Yeah, it was.
Just moved on from it.
Yeah.
On to last season then. It was an incredible season, and you played a massive part in it. You were only off the podium once in the entire World Cup season, and you took the win at the last round in Snowshoe. Fourth in the overall with 1,133 points. National champ again. You must have been happy with it.
Yeah, you've been number crunching, George.
I have, yeah. A bit of research.
So I was happy with how the season started with the second in Maribor. Obviously, I was going to be happy with that. I was less than half a second off the win with Loic taking the win there. But then after that, I just wanted more. I wanted to win because I'd been so close in Maribor, and it just wasn't really happening for me all year. I was doing everything I could, and I was leaving races quite disappointed and disheartened with just podium finishes because I was doing everything I could, but just I was consistently the same amount of time off, maybe bar a couple of times. But I guess it was good that I was leaving each race, each weekend, disappointed with the podium because it showed I was expecting a lot of myself, and I did seem to pull it together at the end. I was fastest in qualifying, like I think Lenza Hyde. I was fastest in the practice session that they have at Worlds, and then Snowshoe fastest in qualifying in the finals. So, yeah, it was good.
Nice. So last year there was 4 guys who stood out, being super consistent. Yourself, Loic, Omri, and Troy. What do you think it takes to be consistent week in, week out at that speed? Because you guys are on the limit.
Yeah, so this is a tough one, really. Like, I've been there for quite a while. I think I first started to be one of those guys where I'm on the podium most weekends. I think I started that in probably 2011, because I was on the podium a few times before winning the World Champs. So I think it's just a case of you've got to live and breathe it. You've got to cross all your T's and dot all your I's day in, day out. You cannot leave any stone unturned, and you have to look after yourself. And I think staying injury free is a massive part of it as well. Like, touch wood, I've had a couple of I wouldn't really say injuries. I've had one. I had my shoulder in 2012, which really knackered that season. But other than that, I've not had that many big injuries. So, yeah, I think looking after yourself is huge.
Okay. So, I've lost my spot. There we go. So, another guy under the Madison tent with you guys is Matt Walker. Young guy, podium contender, super motivated towards going fast and racing. Talk us through your relationship with Matt, because I know you guys get on real well.
Yeah, so I first officially met Matt when I signed with the team. So I didn't really know Matt before then. I'd obviously seen he was making waves in youth and junior and whatnot. But Yeah, me and Matt get on really well, and I think it's because we're very similar. Like, we both just like to ride our bikes, and we don't get all stoked and sick and everything rad and nothing. It's nothing's like that. We just like to ride our bikes. It's not all about Instagram and.
You're racers, aren't you? The pair of you.
Yeah, that's it. And not even though. Even when we're just practicing and just riding. Like, I love riding my bike, and we're not trying to be something we're not. So I think we're both very similar in. I just like riding my bike. I don't party hard. Like, even after I win the race, I don't party hard. Like, just enjoy riding my bike. And Matt's very similar. He has his Instagram. Like, I often think he needs to do more with his Instagram. And I'm sure he thinks he does himself, but he likes to keep his private life private. And I've got to respect him for that. But in future, I think moving forward, especially through this time, he may put a bit more on there. But yeah, I think we're just very similar. And I've had issues before with teammates, and it's really not fun. So for me and him to get on as well as we do, I really cherish that.
Nice. So obviously you're going to be a massive help to Matt with all your experience. Following on from what you've just said there, do you feel having Matt as that teammate is helping you push yourself harder? Is it helping you improve your performance through the weekends?
I think it does, yeah. I think having someone fast and someone that I get along with is great. Like I just said, I've had issues before with teammates, and so it makes me even more, able to appreciate Matt even more. And I often sense there's a competitive edge between the two of us, which I think is good for both of us, and to get the most out of each other for the team as well. And if we see like Matt, like last season and the season before that, he was getting the better of me at the start of this season, like in nationals and last year at the IXS in Maribor. I'm just able to raise my game a little bit, and I'm sure Matt's working on that himself as well.
Following on from what you've said there, at the bottom of Rayola BDS last year race runs, I'd come down and I had quite a good run, and I was hanging around at the finish waiting to see what had gone on. And I was standing next to Will, your team manager, and I said to him, "Who's your money on?" Because Matt had won qualifying, if I'm right.
What did he say?
He looked at me and he just said, "When Danny's leaving the pits to go and win a race, it's a different Danny." And he just went, "So." And then Matt beat you. And then he beat you at the IXS, and then you beat him at the World Cup. Do you think that's kind of an experience thing that you have, where you'll turn him up at the World Cups and the big ones, and Matt's maybe putting all the fire in?
I guess so. Like we said earlier, like we're starting to get a little deep, and I guess that is potentially how it is. It's not something I think about. I think if you have to think about it, then it's probably not. It doesn't come as easy to you. So for me, it must just be an instinct thing. And yeah, Matt beats me legit fair and square. Like, he beat me at national champs at Glencoe. He beat me in Kumkan. He beat me in Rayola. And there's nothing I can do. It's quite awkward, to be fair, because I'm the guy that's
your lead rider,
probably meant to win. And he beats me fair and square, and I haven't really got anything to say. And like, I think it puts him in an awkward position as well, because he would probably like to be all excited about it, or a little more excited. Like I said, he's a lot like me, so he doesn't get he's super excited. But I do remember, like, national champs at Glencoe, he had his family there.
I remember seeing that.
And he won.
That run
and
was...
then we're in the pits at the end, and it's like I'm sat there and he's won, so he's scared to. We never spoke about it. It's just what I thought, and it's nothing bad. It's actually quite nice of them that they don't come back and start
popping
jumping through hoops. And so
I heard you were very complimentary, Danny. I heard you went over and shook his hand and said, "Well done."
Oh yeah, always.
You were really like humble about it. You weren't,
Yeah, there's not many people I wouldn't say that to, whether it's my teammate or not, to be fair. So
and I guess that's where it's good that you guys have that good competitive, friendly relationship where
for sure, yeah.
when the other one does win, it's fine. Obviously, you wanted to win, but you just move on. And yeah, nice.
I have to ask you some questions about Fort William. You must have like a love-hate relationship with the place. You've invested so much into it. You've won the national, 5 times?
He won't even
the
remember.
You famously go up there and camp for weeks at a time. You must wonder what else you can do to win the World Cup. What else you have to do?
Yes, I'd like to get a few things straight. I don't go to Fort William, park in that dusty hellhole of a car park for 2 weeks and ride down that track for 2 weeks solid. Me and Sophia, we really like it up there. Like, when the weather's nice, which in the summer, it's often nice. Sometimes you get a bit of bad weather, but like, it's a really cool place to be. So we just like to pace ourselves out of there. I like use that as like it's often early in the season. So I use it as a prep for going away to Mont Saint Anne, going to all these races where the speeds are high, it's rough, the track's long. I mean, what better way is there to practice than
There isn't, no.
than riding there, training there, I use the gym there, and yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's going to take for me to win. I'm open to any suggestions because I want it more than anyone, I'm sure. But I was thinking earlier, like I watched Petey's film.
Yeah.
It was free on the internet the other day, so me and Sophia sat and watched it. She hadn't seen it. It took Steve a long time to win that race, so...
I was thinking about that, the comparison. I was just going to say about that, but yeah.
Hopefully my time will come.
No doubt. So, off the back of that, you've already mentioned Val di Sole. You've been there a few times. You've said your reason behind it. Any other tracks where you've thought, I'm going to benefit from going there for a few days?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, like I said, we go to Fort William and I go to Val di Sole. Val di Sole is really cool because I'll go there maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks before the World Cup, ride for 3 days and then go and sit by Lake Garda for 4 or 5 days. And it's, because I spend all my summer, well not all, like the most of my summer in Europe in the camper anyway. So that's really nice. Other places I've been to Croatia. I went to Croatia for 3 days riding before the World Cup in 2018 because I'd seen videos of that and I thought it's a good idea to go and do a recce on this and see. Obviously I was on a new team as well. I just signed with Madison. So I went over there and like tested wheels and just got to grips with riding the rocks like that.
Yeah.
And again, like I said about Val di Sole, when I would go there before and I would get rid of like the horrible feeling that you have with somewhere. And it was exactly the same for Croatia because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Croatia it's eye-opening on your first few runs.
Yeah, we made a mistake really. We went and did the same as you, but when me and George went, it rained. So we spent 3 days sliding down that track.
Sliding around, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just a waste of time. I just learned to ride it too slow. And just learn to be scared of it, really, because you're right, those rocks.
It's over in a flash as well.
Yeah, like can't make mistakes. 1 minute 45, is it, to the car park or something?
Is that what it was? I don't remember.
So,
Back to Fort William. I've asked Jack previously how you boys ride the top section so fast, and Jack said he has 2 braking spots up to the boardwalk, and that he thought you might possibly not brake at all. Is that right? All the way to the boardwalk?
This is another thing, like, well, this is where I read the notes on this and I read your question and I was trying to think about it in my head, and I'll be honest with you, I don't really have to think about it. Maybe this is what I need help, because I can't win the bloody thing, can I? So, like, I don't think about when I'm braking or not, but like, when I sit here and think about it, I could probably, like the first boardwalk, like where it's just the little one over the bridge.
Yeah.
I probably don't brake until there.
yeah, that's my
But
first.
after that, obviously, you have to brake.
Yeah.
I brake there, and then I brake into the next right just a little bit,
Yeah, I see. I
And
don't know. I just
and then I'm
go
off.
off. Like, this is where me and you might be different. You might have to think, like, without sounding
No.
check me, you potentially have to think about it more, whereas
Yeah, I'm very
I'm
analytical.
doing it more off instinct a little bit. And
I remember sharing a gondola with you, Danny. It was at the National 2018, I think it was, with you and Will, and we were going up. And I remember we got to that bit where you cross underneath the gondola just after there, and there's that left-hander with the slabs in it. Do you know the gondola I mean?
yeah, I know what you
And we
mean.
were it was round there somewhere, and you went, you see that bit? I have to brake there now, and I don't know if they've done a line, put a different line in or something.
Yeah, I can't remember.
No.
Maybe I just learned how to get around the corner before it a little faster, so I carried a little more speed. But yeah, like I said before, like if you ask me how many times I brake going down there or where I brake, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you.
Is it
But
true?
it's fun. Sorry,
Is it true your strategy for Fort William and for tracks like that is that you break it into 4 and you do like the first section and the third section and get those nailed, and then you do the second section and the fourth section? Is that how you break it down?
Yeah, when I'm in Fort William doing like that preparation stuff, that's what I'll do, because it's not possible to do 100% runs down that track 6-7 times a day.
No.
So what I do is I have some points where I have got notes from all over the years of where my points are, and I know what's a good time to that point and the next point. And then if I say I do the top section in, let's for argument's sake, say 47 seconds, then I'll go slow through the, which again is really hard to do, to go slow. Once you've got going and you're like in the heat of the moment and you're pushing, it's really hard to go slow in the second section. So sometimes I'll just have to stop. To stop myself from going too fast. And then in section 3, I'll push on. Then 4, I'll chill, and then vice versa. And then by the end of the day, I'll do 2 full runs, and I'll try and match my fastest times in each section over a full run.
Nice. I've never thought about that. Just to explain my breaking point thing, because George has made me sound like a little bit of a robot. And the reason why I know I have 2 breaking points up there is actually indirectly because of you. It's the only track and the only section of track where I actually know where I break. And the reason is in my early years of racing World Cups between 2010 and kind of 2014, I was always slow up there. My top split was always terrible. And my dad, one year, stood on the cafe viewpoint and watched people down that top section. And he pulled me over after 2 runs and he said, come and watch Danny, he's just got in the gate. And he said, watch the speed he hits these first corners. And I was running the brakes through the first set of corners. And I watched you through them and it was like, he ain't touching
like a pump track.
Yeah, exactly. And I watched that and I was like,
making the hairs on my arms stand up, Jack, and getting nervous thinking about it.
There you go. But that was where it stemmed from. Don't brake until you get to that little bridge crossing. And then there's one more dab, and then that was that. But yeah,
it's often very difficult. Before that, you do the corners that are just in a straight line like this, and then you do a one left, and it goes over a crest, and that left is really difficult. So when you're pushing really hard to not run wide enough the track in the
and especially in the dry, because you don't get enough bite in the little berm.
Over the years, I've had really good top splits there, like the first minute. And then last year, I was really bad. And I think the wind was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. Yeah, the wind, and there's more variables. And that's why it's really, like if you speak to an F1 driver or a MotoGP rider there, even my dad, when my dad's riding around Donington on his superbike, he'll know exactly where he's braking. Because if they miss that braking point, they're going to run wide in the next corner. But we have there's so many variables, and it's just not possible to say exactly where you're going to brake all the way down. Yeah, the top section there, it is like a bit of a road circuit where you can say, I'm going to brake there. But with so many variables, it's not really possible. And you're going downhill, so you only make speed.
Yeah, I can concur about the wind last year, because ever since then I've been top 20 at the World Cups in that top split. And then last year in my race run, I was 58th, that top split. No mistakes. It must have just caught wind. And that 2 seconds I lost there cost me. Anyway, go on, George.
So the one bad result last season was Leger. I don't want to focus on the negatives, but it was probably the difference between third and fourth in the overall. What happened in Leger?
Leger was a funny one, really. Like, the track there is really quite basic, I think, and there's not really anything to so much challenge you. There's not much to think about, and I was riding really well, and I qualified in the top. I think I was top 4. I can't exactly remember.
Yeah,
I was up there though. I was at the sharp end, and I knew that on Sunday, it was a Saturday. It was actually a Saturday race, and I knew that if I really brought the heat and pushed on, that deep down that I could potentially like have a good one, and a good one for me is winning, and I've really thought I could, and I guess I was just overdid it totally from leaving the start line to luckily crossing over the finish line, because I did manage to cross the finish line, which it was really a blessing, because when I was riding, like, I made mistakes when we went off camera on the Red Bull feed, and it went into some switchbacks, and I just blew through one and went like down and off into a tree. I didn't go off the track as such. I went right offline. I had to like pull my way back up. So at that point, I was thinking, right, well, I'll just go for it now and just try and get some hellish split times. And I think that was the wrong idea, because how I made it to the bottom, like we saw at the bottom there, coming to the last jump section, like, and just got overbalanced, and the track went right, and I was like, I'm not even going to get to that. So it was a bit embarrassing, to be fair, but it was only through pushing as hard as I could and being as committed as I could. It wasn't like I'd rather do what I did there than come down and finish 10th, having just rode steady Eddie and not got out of my comfort zone.
Nice.
So it was just overcommitted.
Yeah, learned some lessons, I'm sure. Yeah. So after that, national champs. How important is national champs to you? I think, have you won it twice now? Is that right?
Yeah, I've won it twice. I won it. No, so 3 times. I won it in Llangollen a few years ago.
Yeah.
Then I won it in Revs. Where was it last year?
Last year was Revs, was it?
Yeah, last year was Revs.
Twice.
We had it twice at Revs.
Yeah, but
okay.
Twice. Yeah, because Greg Williamson won at Revs. So yeah, I've won it 3 times.
Okay.
And to be honest, when I was with Giant, it wasn't a big thing. I didn't even do it sometimes. I didn't even do it a few times, so it wasn't that big. But like for Madison, we've been a domestic race, and they like us to do as many domestic races as we can, and national champs, I now make an effort to do it. So it hasn't left our team, I don't think. So obviously Matt had it, now I've got it. I've had it twice. So that's what we're shooting for this year now. Like, we're believing that could be our first race back. So
yeah, you're right. Could be.
Yeah. Could be. That's a big could as well. So
cross them fingers.
Yeah, I guess for me now it's a big thing. Now I've won it a couple of times. Yeah. I won it quite a few times when I was like when I was a kid. I won it in juvenile, youth. Bernard beat me in junior. The year that I was favourite to win, I guess. Like, because through youth and juvenile, my first year I always had Joe Smith and Bryceland and Sam Dale. So them were tough first years for me. So yeah.
On to the final round of last season's snowshoe. Matt Walker told us a little story that you didn't fancy those jumps after the track walk.
Yeah, he's not lying. There's a few things I saw, like even from leaving the start line, the first jump if they'd have left it how they had it when we walked it, it was easy, the first one. But yeah, it would have been a...
Is it true Loic petitioned them to change? Was that?
Say again, sorry.
Is it true that Loic petitioned them to change that first
I
jump?
don't know.
Right.
Maybe. I think everybody did, to be honest. Well, a lot of people did anyway.
Right.
I think the Instagram people wanted to keep it in, but the racers wanted it out.
Okay.
So, yeah, there was that one. Then we went in, it was quite a big step down. Like, when you walk it and you have no idea how you're coming into it, it was a fairly decent step down.
Yeah.
And then it was there's that blind one out of the trees that was like a double, like a funky thing, yeah. And then it was that big god awful double thing, and like we hadn't been there before, so we had no idea how fast we were going to be going or anything. And yeah, I was nervous. Like, it's not often I'm nervous to hit jumps, like I've said a few times. Like when I was a kid and we'd go places, and like I remember one thing quite vividly is when they first built the big rock garden at A Forest. That thing was like, that was for real. That was a hellish rock garden, and the good line was like jump off the top, or like you could jump down the side. And both of them, like when you're this high, it was quite scary. So
when you're this high, they're quite scary as well, don't they?
Yeah. So I got that sort of feeling again of being nervous to do the jumps, and what I did to get over it was just did them all first run.
You sent them all?
Then I was fine. Yeah, I was like, I need to just do it because it's gonna play on my mind if I don't.
Nice.
And they ended up being really easy. The only one I didn't do first was that double in the bottom trees, which was like, it was like two singles that we...
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I stopped and looked, and people came past and did it, and it was like, I was asking the marshal, saying, what do you reckon? And these people just flew past and did it. I was like, oh, there you go then. So then I just did it. And then from then on, it was just, I had so much fun with that track.
Yeah, it was awesome. So that's an ending to a season that may never be matched. And as you said, you qualified first, you were last man down the hill. Obviously, I'm sure you were just fully focused on doing your race run and going down the win. When you were sat in the gate, did you have any idea how influential your run could be on the overall between Omri and Loic?
No, I had no idea at all. Like, I think I maybe had an idea of the time that Pierron had done. And that was fast at the time, I guess.
Yeah, he was in the hot seat, yeah.
But I have my headphones on, I was on my rollers. I get off with maybe 5 minutes to go, so that is, there's only one rider sat in front of me in the queue.
Yeah.
And there's only one rider. I was the last rider, so yeah, it was, Loic was in front of me. And no, I have no idea. This is the thing, like, it's hard, like, everybody says, oh, how nail-biting the race was. Like, when you're doing it, it was just like any other race, and it's a shame that I can't, like, one day I'll be able to enjoy things like that, but not right now.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea, so.
think...
And then at the bottom, I finished, and everybody's like, everybody that watched on the television said, oh, it must have been so crap for you to finish, and nobody came over and congratulated you and whatnot. I was like, that's not how it was. It was actually, it was mental in the finish, to be fair. Like, yes, Loic's people were there, and obviously they were overjoyed and they were all going crazy, but I'm not saying they were my people, but like, people that could see that I just won and I hadn't won for a while were there to congratulate me as well. And Sophia was there in the background crying, and so she was pregnant as well, so it was quite scary for her, I bet.
You've talked before, I think it was on the final team video from last year, there's like you in the gondola at Fort William, there's the opening to it, and you talk about like a calmness during a race run that you don't really think about anything when you're doing it. On a run like that, are you thinking at any point, this is a podium run or this is a winning run?
No, definitely not. No, like, well, it's funny. Maybe you do, because you know when you're flying and when
just flashes, I
everything's
guess,
going
doesn't it?
right. Yeah, but it's just like you're not thinking about anything. Like,
No.
I'm sure this is the same for you, George, and the same for you, Jack. When you're doing it,
Yeah.
it's like, I like to say you're in like a zen. Like, it's the same with anything though. Like, I'll get off doing a 20-minute session on my motocross bike, and I'll think, what the hell have I just been thinking about for 20 minutes? You like it?
I think that's why we do it, though, isn't it? You know, it is that switch off from the real world. It's that escapism that.
You know, it's nothing conscious, is it?
No.
So it's. Yeah, I don't know. I'm never thinking, oh, this is amazing. I'm going to win the race, because I won the race by less than half a second. How are you meant to know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're not.
No.
But yeah, that's it. Like,
yeah. So before Snowshoe, you hadn't won a World Cup or a World Champ since 2016. During that 3-year period, did you ever feel like the capability to win at the highest level had moved away from you, or what was the feeling?
So 2016, 2017. No, when I think in my head about the races, I was always, when I was on, I was there or thereabouts. So no, I'm like, if we think to 2017, and one that sticks out for me is Mont Saint Anne, where I came down in the pouring rain.
Yeah.
And the only two people faster than me that day was Aaron, who did come down in the same conditions, and Dean, who came down in drier conditions. So I always know that it's there. It's just unlocking it. And 2017 was quite a tough year. There was a lot of politics and stuff like that with my team, and wasn't really in the best frame of mind. So, but I definitely knew it was all still there. And then 2018, I don't know how close I ever got to winning, but I was still at the sharp end. And
you never doubted it was going to come back.
What was funny was in 2018, I second in the World Cup overall with 2 or 3 podiums. In 2019, I was on the podium every time by 1, and I finished 4th.
Yeah,
that's how good everybody else was.
Yeah, in 2016 you won 3 of them, and
I nearly won. Yeah, but I won the one more. That would have maybe done it.
That would have been it. So, why do you think it happened in Snowshoe? The run was incredible, especially the one sector towards the bottom where you did the majority of the damage towards Irion's time.
Yeah, it's funny, really. I think Snowshoe, like when we were going there and we're driving there, and there's no phone signal, and you're driving through all these redneck places. And did you go to Snowshoe, Jack?
Yep.
You did. So you know what it was like. There's like, you're driving for 3 hours with no phone signal. I'm thinking, where the hell are the UCI bringing us right now? And then you turn up to this lovely little ski resort, and it was great. Like, it's like its own little place. The town was quite cool. Like, it's like a mini Whistler sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then we did the course walk, and I was a bit skeptical, to be honest, like just like one big rock garden. But then as I practiced it and I rode it and I did all them jumps, I think every run it just got better and better, and I was just really into it and really enjoying it. And thinking my race run and my qualifying run, and I just was enjoying it more and more every run. And it was just
clicked.
It all clicked, yeah. And the one section where I made the time, I do feel I had consciously been fast through that the whole weekend, because it was a section where, like, we talk about braking and stuff like that. You could turn there was a left-hander coming into it all the way until like the awkward, horrible right-hander at the end of that section.
Yeah. And
apart from one little drop-off, you could ride that full section without touching the brakes.
Did you do that?
And that's what I did, yeah. So.
Yeah, I can tell everybody that's nuts. Fair play. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So,
and you just have to brake to get around that horrible corner.
Yeah.
Then you have to pedal, and then you just let go of the brakes again because it's just straight and all the way to the. Like I consciously just death gripped because I was like, if I touched them, I could use them, and didn't want to use them.
So you went through it. Wow, nice. Yeah. Well, there
Yeah,
you
you
go.
think about it, there was nothing to slow down for at that point, is there?
If you got the confidence to hit them rocks full speed,
Yeah.
then yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So you've said that over the 3 years, you never felt like it had gone away from you. You're at the pointy end. Still feel like the wins were there. Do you feel now that a World Cup overall win, you've got more confidence for it after winning Snowshoe, or do you still feel the same as you did before that win?
Yeah.
Giving you some tough questions now.
Yeah, these are like them deep ones that when I read it, I'm like, how the hell am I going to... I haven't got any notes now. I've just got your questions in front of me, and
You're doing
this
fine.
is where I got to with my notes. So, the World Cup overall is it's a tough one. Like, I think I take like the most from it that is possible. Like from 2016 and 2018, like 2018 coming second, and after not having the best year.
Yeah.
This last year, it's hard to take much confidence from because you pretty much had to win the overall. Like them two, there's only me and one other person who won that weren't Loic and Amory. So yeah, you've got to be really on it, and I do all I can to be on it, and I don't really know what to say when it comes to like having self-belief to do it, because I just try and take each race at a time, and I have the opportunity and the the
means,
infrastructure and everything to win every weekend. So yeah, just try and take each race at a time, and then you'll see where you are at the end. I'm sure that's all those boys did.
Absolutely.
Maybe they start thinking about it a little more, but I think I just try and take each race at a time, which is what I've tried to do forever.
Related question. Have you ever had the one board on the front of your bike?
World champs.
So not at the World Cup. So maybe that's the trick.
No.
Maybe
You have to win the...
Maybe it's a good start, yeah. Maybe that's all you need. Well, we got every faith in you doing it. So slightly less deep question. Scotty Mears is now on the tools for you. Good lad. I've known him from way back in the day. How big a role has he played getting him by your side?
Yeah, Scott's been really good. Like, I got dropped in the crap a little bit at the end of 2018, and I was just sat at Scott's house, and I said, "So, do you fancy a year on the spanners?" And he was like, "Oh, let me think about it. Let's see what's in it." And Will put a contract to him, and he jumped at the chance. So I think like Scott has always wanted to just make it a little bit more than what he did with his racing.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, I was like proud of him because he accepted that it's not going to be, and he took a step backwards, and no, not a step backwards, a step back from racing the World Cups. He was going all over the world, and it just, the amount of times I must have gone and watched him try and qualify and just not make it was really felt sorry for him. So I was proud of him for him to say, "Look, that's it. I've had a real good go. I quit." He quit his work. He really tried, and he said, "Right, that's it. I'm not going to bother anymore." And he put all his effort into the shop, and he's got a really successful shop, and it's really good. But when he got the opportunity to come with me, I think that was like the stars sort of aligned a little bit for him to have another go at it in a different role, and he's grabbed it with both hands. And honestly, he is amazing. Like, there's never a dull moment. It can be the hardest day, not going well. He'll tell you how it is as well if you're wrong.
Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about was that I think he said after Snowshoe that he put a couple of extra PSI in your tyres and didn't tell you. Does he do stuff like that regularly?
Well, he doesn't tell me, so if he started telling me, then it wouldn't work, would it? So I don't know. That's a question you'll have to get him on your podcast and ask
Yeah, we'll
him.
bring him in. So, going back to the riding and the practice sessions, everyone kind of knows. I obviously know because I'm at the races. You're known for doing a lot of timed runs and a lot of full-timed runs in your practice. How analytical do you get with what comes back on the timing sheets? Are you looking at sectors, or are you just kind of wanting to do it for yourself?
To be honest, with the time training, I do it for myself as much as anything. Like we were talking earlier about confidence and one thing or another, and I do take confidence from that, which is fine for that weekend.
Yeah.
So, and I do check out the splits and see where I need to do what. And
yeah.
And if you've noticed, I use a helmet camera a lot. Like every practice run, even from the first run through to, well, I even use it in racing. And I'm really good with timing off that, like with my phone. I'll time one section 3 times, start at this tree, finish at this post, and I'll get the same time with my finger every time. Yeah. So I'm really consistent with that. So I do use that a lot. So
when you're getting the consistent times in practice, that just, as you said before, just adds.
When I say consistent, I mean like it's accurate, like with my finger.
Yeah.
So if it's, and I can do it for a 3-second section or a 15-second section, and I'll get the same time for 3 goes.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a different line and I'll get the same time. So that'll tell me what's faster.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
I'll write it all down in my paper so I can see in front of me. But the time training is as much a bit of a, look what I can do here, like I'm going to be ready for Sunday, to everybody else as much as for myself as well. Like,
yeah, so nice.
It's becoming more of a thing, I think, time training. And
100%.
When we watch F1, MotoGP, every session, every run is timed. So for us to have an hour and a half and people say, it's just time training, it doesn't matter for anything. Well, take it how you will.
Yeah. And I think what those people don't understand, that we obviously understand, is we don't get that much time on the track.
No.
And every run counts towards getting towards your penultimate speed.
For sure, yeah.
So yeah, if you're not going to use that time valuably, then you're wasting time. Simple as that. I'm one of those riders like yourself. If I leave time practice and it hasn't gone that well for me, that knocks my confidence going into quali. Whereas if I've put sectors down and put good runs down, I'm much more relaxed in quali, because then I just kind of know that I'm just going to do what I've already done.
Yeah.
A little bit more. So. Okay.
What is crazy is how the times, when you do a time training run and you think, right, I'm going to give it a good effort now.
Yeah.
Come finals on Sunday and you're knocking, it can be between 5 and 10 seconds or more on a longer track. And you're like, Christ, how the hell do you do it?
Yeah, agreed, definitely. So
you hear a baby crying in the background or not?
No, she woke up.
Yeah, they've just gone upstairs.
No, we can't hear anything. It's all good. So one thing people are talking about a lot is the level of our sport lifting over recent years. We've all seen it. We're all aware of it. Do you feel you're one of the riders that's lifting the sport each year, or would you say you're at the point at the end and it gets lifted and then you go with it as it's lifted, if that makes sense?
I think over the years I potentially have lifted the level, maybe not the last year or the last 2 years, but 2016 I was potentially the guy that lifted it, and then we've only had really, well, Aaron before that, like 2011 when he was dominating the World Cups, like when he won Val d'Isole like he did.
Yeah.
But and then after that I maybe did that in 2016. I don't know. I don't want to check. Like, it's not all about me. But then we've had Loic and Emery the past year. We've all just been chasing the past 2 years. And I don't know if there's anybody else off the top of my head that's really done anything
spectacular,
that drastic.
Yeah. Do you feel like the main reason the level's lifting is this kind of constant tug of war between the riders pushing for more? Or do you think a bigger reason is the fact the equipment's just getting better and better every year? Or a bit
We
of
talk about the equipment getting better and better, but I think that's just something that people can say, because from what I can see, the past 4 years, maybe the wheel size has changed, but the bikes haven't changed a great deal.
No.
Like
geometry's kind of stable, isn't it?
Yeah, like the bike I won, the 2016 Worlds won a World Cup last year. That's the same bike.
Yeah.
4 years later. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's the equipment. I just think it's people's hard work, training, ability. What else? I think there's more people around on the track. There's a lot of things. It's not. I don't think it's solely down to equipment.
Let's talk a bit about fitness, Danny. You and Troy are two of the smaller riders, and no disrespect at all, but you're probably not the strongest. But your strength to weight must be very good. Is that what you think's most important?
Yeah, I think me not being the strongest and stuff like that, it's all relevant. So when we look at when I first started like making waves in this sport, like 2010, 2011, the amount of times that I was on the ragged edge, nearly falling off, but not falling off is a testament to my training and my strength.
Yeah.
So, and that is when I think I was the start of the small guys doing good on the big tracks. So, it's all relative, isn't it? So, I'm in the gym thinking, oh, I'm really strong here lifting this weight, but that's just all I know.
Yeah.
But I do think if I took a lot of guys in the gym, they wouldn't be doing much more than what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, and as you say, it's all power to your weight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your body position on the bike is awesome. The top half of your body doesn't really move. But at the same time, you always just look so relaxed. Is that body position on the bike something that you actively work on? Or is it more like what you said before, just a subconscious, natural thing?
Yeah, it's just an instinct. I don't, like, when I look at videos from over the years of my style, I don't think it's changed dramatically.
I went back and watched Champery the other day, obviously before doing this, and I thought that. I was like, he looks very similar to how he looks now. Like that's.
Yeah, no, I think, without sounding big-headed, like I think I'm more on the natural side. Like I don't have to work so much on technique and stuff like that. I'll go riding and I'll think, right, I'm going to practice this or I'm going to practice that. And a lot of the time, it's not really technique. It's, to be fair, like I'll go riding to Hamsterley and I'll just see how long I can not touch the brakes and I'll push that as far as I can. Whether that means not pumping as hard or not doing something, just to see how far I can get without touching the brakes is a little game for myself, really. But my style, I don't really concentrate on it much. Maybe over the years, I would like to have been, I've gone a little bit more aggressive. Like, I think gone are the times now where it can look like you're just having a nice run down. You've got to be on that edge and pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And I do, when was it? So I think 2015, I went through a patch of it looking like I was just riding down the hill. I wasn't attacking anything. And I'd get back and I'd watch the replay and I'd like, what the hell am I doing? It looks like I'm on a practice run. And sometimes now, like the tracks that we get, like I got a couple of people criticised the way I rode in Lenzerheide last year, but that is a track to me that doesn't allow you to be on the ragged edge all the way. You've got to be quite calculated down there. Whereas you get somewhere like Andorra or Val di Sole, you can really push it down there, and you've got to really push it to make your bike remotely work.
Yeah.
You've talked about honing your skills kind of at Hamsterley. It's not the biggest hill. Can you tell us a little bit about the transition from riding there on kind of a 1 minute run to riding 4 minute tracks?
1 minute?
Careful, George.
1 minute? You're doing us down.
Yeah.
I can do 1:15.
Yeah, well, I heard you were doing. Somebody told me the King of the Hill race, which I'll come on to in a little bit earlier this season. You'd done like a 1:05 or something like that.
I had beaten the time that won the race, but
Yeah.
we'll save that for another day.
All right, a 1:15. But I mean, like going to like upscaling that to a 4 minute track. Is it just that you got your skills on the 1 minute track growing up doing that, and then you got your fitness to do the 4 minute track? Did you see them as kind of two separate things?
Until I read your question, I've never really thought about it. And this is another one of those questions where I'm like, oh, crikey, Moses, what am I going to say here? But the thing with Hamsterley is, I think, I'm going to say all of the sections on that hill you could potentially get in a World Cup.
Yeah.
Granted, they might only be for 5 to 10 seconds long, but you could get those sections in a World Cup.
Yeah.
It's technical, it's proper, like it's not like we've had to build a jump line because this is how it's going now. You need to have a flow line. We haven't had any of that. It's all just proper downhill.
Yeah.
So like that's why I think Hamsterley is good. Like it's getting a bit funny now. Like I can ride down there like practically with my eyes shut. So it's sort of maybe going the other way for me now. Like I know it too well, and something in the future that I'd like to do is go away more and ride and have to learn tracks.
Yeah.
Whereas I can go and ride every track at Hamsterley, and you could put time impos out, and I could go right now. Well, it's dark, but if it was light, right now, and do
a fast one. Yeah.
As fast as anyone down them that's practiced. So yeah, and when you say about putting that and fitness, I don't really know. I honestly, I've never really thought about it.
I have to give a shout out to my Making Up the Numbers teammate, Neil White. He's the one who comes up with some of these deep questions. So I don't know. Do you know Neil?
Maybe at sight, not off.
Yeah.
I probably know his voice off listening, but I don't know. Can't picture him.
So you've kind of maybe already answered this one a little bit, but you're also known for getting up to speed real quick at the start of practice. Maybe some of that is because, as you said yourself, you visit some of the tracks to get that initial feeling of fear out of the way. But Matt's told me himself, his words were, it's pointless trying to do the first few runs with Danny, meaning he's not going to bother following you. Do you actively go out first run of the practice and try and go fast, or are you just following your natural flow through the weekend?
That's sort of thrown me under the bus here a little bit.
Yes. I can't remember where he told me that. We were in a lift. I said, why don't you ride with Danny on a Friday? He said, no, it's no point until the afternoon. I just can't keep up.
Sounds like Matt walks the track quicker than he rides it when he has to.
Really?
He walks the track so quick. That's maybe why he takes longer to get going.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking. But Matt does walk it fast. It's just what I've done all the time. Like when I was younger, not even so much when I was younger, I used to just be the first guy on the hill. Yeah. Even now I'm the same. Because I just want to ride. Like I don't want to be sitting around in the car park waiting for, I don't know, looking cool.
Yeah,
I'd rather be riding.
I remember at National Champs last year on the Sunday morning, you were the first rider down the hill. And it was
probably because you don't get much practice there.
George, he did it to us at Snowshoe as well. He was first man on the track at Snowshoe. And that first dip jump went fully sideways, right up at the top. And we're all standing in the start gate like that. Like, oh, cheers. We've got to follow that now, haven't we? A jump that we're all worried about. Yeah,
I think I'm always excited to ride, and I don't want to waste time going slow when I can just get up to speed quick. I never really have to think about it. It's just...
You're just following natural speed.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I always think, like, I've thought, even coming into last year, I've probably said to myself, Danny, you need to stop more in practice, you need to look at things more, you need to do this, you need to do that. And once I get going, I just get too excited and don't stop. That is the top and bottom of it. I love it.
Yeah, nice. That's sick.
Let's have a quick chat about the bike. Your first World Champs win in 2011 was your second season on Giant.
Yeah.
Your second World Champs win in 2016 was your second season on Mondraker.
Yeah.
2019.
I nearly won it the second year on the Saracen and all, didn't I?
Yeah. Does it take you a year to settle into a new bike?
I've number crunched this as far as it goes for me, and I guess so. Well, no, actually, it was my first year, wasn't it? On Madison, was it my first year? Yeah, my first.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, 2018.
That was the first year. Yeah, so it was at the end of the first year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like that has been a thing every second year on the bike. I don't think it takes me a while to settle. You never do. Like when I was on Mondraker and I was on my Zocchi forks, and I said, "Oh, these are sound. These are sweet. I can go just as well." But then when I changed to the Fox ones, I was like, these are even better.
Right.
And I guess subconsciously, you always just think that what you need to think what you've got is the best. So, does it take me a while to settle on a new bike? I don't think so, but the results show so.
So the Mr. Single pivot, and it's a pretty kind of straightforward design, a bit and it's the only tech question. I
mustn't have read this one.
In one of the WhatsApp groups I'm in, there was like a bit of debate last season as if to a bike like that can still win at a World Cup level. Did you have any doubts at any point? And is that why you just floating brake?
No, I mean, if I'd have had doubts, I would never have signed with the team.
Yeah.
They changed the bike quite a lot. Like the previous year's bike was quite a lot different to the 2018 bike. And we got the bike to exactly within reason where we wanted it, and I was always there or thereabouts, so I had no issues with the bike at all. We got the new linkage last year now to make it 27.5 on the rear, and we have the new thing on the rear end to try and stop the brake jack a little, and
the floating brake.
I think once you learn a bike, and for me, I can learn something quite quick, which is always a bonus and a downfall, because I learn something really quick, and then I obviously don't struggle to make it better because I just adapt, which is good and bad. I've been with teammates in the past that are just so gone in the head because something isn't perfect that they may as well just stay in bed, whereas I can learn to adapt really quite well.
Cool.
Was that addition of the floating brake a big thing, or was it just a little tweak?
It was just a little thing that we tried. We tried it in the middle of the season, and you can't really tell a huge difference, but even if it's only a tiny bit better, then it's a bit better. Yep. So I just stuck with it.
Nice.
How has the floating brake affected my riding is the next question. I just answered that, really.
Yeah.
I was going to leave that one. I've lost my notes now as well.
We're on to the mullet setup. We saw Matt testing a mullet up at Revolution just after Christmas. Do you know if he was going to start in looser on the mullet?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. What do you like best about it? Was it just the 29 was too much on your?
No, the 29 at the time, before I'd ridden the 27.5, I was adamant, this is it, this is what we're going with. And we were out in Ponte de Lima, actually, just we were testing, and we probably didn't have much to test, so we were just riding. And Will said, "Oh, I've got this linkage here for the small rear wheel. Why don't you just chuck that in?" And I was sceptical at first to try it because I was like, "Oh, well, this is it. It's the last day. What if it's good?" And nevertheless, it was good, and I just went away with it, and I haven't looked back since. And it looks to me that more people are going down that avenue.
Well, I've just realised that I've got this is you're welcome to this world, Danny. You've got this all coming to you. I've got a load of stickers stuck to me that my little daughter's put on me earlier on today.
You know they were there?
I didn't know they were there, and I don't know if they've been in shot the entire time.
It was part of your t-shirt, mate.
That seems as good a
Should have
place
just left that.
to take a quick break. We'll return after these messages with the Revolution Bike Park Big Questions. On to the Revolution Bike Park Big Questions then. First one, what's your favourite track on the World Cup circuit, and which section of track do you find most difficult to race?
Should have thought about this because I've heard this one before.
Yeah.
My favourite track. I used to say Fort William, but it's getting to the stage now where it's not so much. So what have we got? We've got
Andorra.
I also used to say Andorra, but that right now is not what it used to be neither. So I think the hardest section on a World Cup is potential. There's two. You've got two. I think you've got the lower section in Andorra, and you've got the wood section at Fort William. It's always a twat.
It gets wet. Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess it hasn't been lately, has it, with the rock garden and stuff? But even after that, it's never the best. And then my favourite track, I would probably say, is Mont Saint Anne.
I think that's what you said as well, Jack, wasn't it?
No, that's mine. At the
I
moment.
enjoy it's fast. It's quite good fun.
Yeah.
What else is there? There isn't really like snowshoe at the end. Like after I rode it, I really enjoyed that as well. Not even after the final, after winning. Like even just after riding it a few runs, it was good.
Yeah. I'm
The
keen.
Lenzerheide can be good on its right day as well, but when it's wet there, it wasn't much fun.
No, lethal, isn't it? So, are there any tracks that you really want to win on that you haven't won on yet, or do you not
I
think?
guess you boys can probably answer that. Fort William. As much as it's cliche for an English guy to want to win, a British guy to want to win in Fort William, I think there's a lot of people that would appreciate me winning there. In fact, I can't imagine what it would be like at the bottom if I took the win.
Yeah, when you take the win.
Yeah.
So, tough question. Do you feel a World Cup overall win is a must? Or do you feel there's any way you can finish your career and hang your bike up at the end, having not won the World Cup overall and still feel happy with your career?
Yeah, I think I can. I've won 2 world championships, like.
Yeah.
If you told me now, right, that's it. There's not many people that have won 1, never mind won 2, so.
What would you take, Danny? Yeah, Danny, what would make you happier, a 3rd world champs or the World Cup overall?
A World Cup overall at this point, I think, would be.
Yeah.
Because people know that I can win the world champs. People don't know that I can win a World Cup overall. Neither do I, because I haven't done it. So it would be good to do that. And at the end of the day, like, it's only the sport of cycling where you have that one race, you're the world champion. If you think of any other sport in the world,
yeah,
whether it be football, whether it be motor racing, bloody tennis, I don't know, they're all, not so much tennis and stuff like that, I guess that's a tournament. They're all like mini championships, so it would be a big thing for me to win that, for myself as much as for the team and everyone around me.
The other thing, and this is just an aside from that I think is really unique about, a bit weird about what we do, is that like when I'm racing, we can race against you quite regularly, and you're the best in the world. And we're not, if you know what I mean. Yeah. There aren't many sports. You can't play football against Lionel Messi. You can't play tennis against Roger Federer.
No, we're very, what do you call it? Reachable.
Yeah, but then the weird thing is that, like, we compare our times to you. Do you know what I mean? I look back and I go, how far am I off whoever won?
Spot where we're all doing the same thing. Whether, like, I could go to Donington on a track bike and compare my time against Valentino Rossi, but it's hardly fair because he's on a different bike. It's all different. Whereas that's what I sometimes think about what we do is when I was a kid, 6 years old, racing my friends around the block, to what I do now is exactly the same thing, but with such more line on it. It's just any racing is just the same as what you've done all your life, whether it be sports day at school or whether it be a world championship race run in Cairns on the other side of the world. Yeah. It's quite organic in that respect, I think.
So on to 2020 then, with Fort Bill and Lachine cancelled and Maribor and Loser being postponed. You mentioned before you think National Champs could be the first race, Andorra possibly the first World Cup.
Yeah, that's what a few people have said, but
so that's the next one in line, if you know what I mean. I think Mont Saint Anne in August is probably more likely. Have you heard anything at all?
I haven't heard anything, no. But what's scary is, it's going to be scary for everybody, is once they let us all go and do what you want again, I could still be a carrier. I'm going to jump on a plane with loads of other people that could still be a carrier of this virus.
Yeah.
I just don't see how anything's going to go, but let's try and be positive and hope for Andorra or Mont Saint Anne. And the talk of, like, I've spoke with Will, and he said how they could potentially run a four race season near the end of the year, but we're going to be stuck for venues where we're going to race because these places shut down for winter. Like, World Champs was going to be in September in Leger, is it? No, Leogang. Yeah. World Cup Finals is in Leger.
Yeah.
On September the 20th. That's my birthday. So that's like late.
Yeah.
That's really late. And like the weather then could be, interesting.
Yeah. So if talk of obviously extending the season and potentially races going on into October, November, if they do end up bulking things together and us having quite a few back-to-back, do you feel like that would suit you? I'm thinking back to that run you got on in 2016.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, whatever they want to do, like, I'm going to stay ready to do. Like, whether it be race on a Sunday, race on a Wednesday, whatever they want to do, double headers.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. I mean, we could. It's not like they can do whatever they want. They could run them like nationals. One day here, the race the next. I'm just going to try and stay as ready as I can. And like I said, I'm quite easygoing, so I can learn to adapt to anything.
Stay in control of what you can control of. Yeah.
As an athlete, are you worried at all about your income? And do you think like smaller teams might struggle for funding after this?
It's definitely a thought of concern, yeah, for sure. I mean, one of my sponsors has already said, look, I'm going to have to pull out from this year, and if you could ride for free, I guess, for this year, and then we'll carry on next year, then that's fine by them. But you can't blame people. These people have they've fallen into debt, and they can't be paying me for not racing. So ask Jack. This is a perfect question for you, mate. Like, you running a team, you've got to keep sponsors happy. Personally, I've got to do it as well, but you've got it even more so than me.
Yeah, it goes back to what you said at the start. social media and content creation just becomes that much more important. You've got to show these guys that you're still a valuable asset to them.
I understand that, but what's difficult is we're a week in, and we're thinking,
100%.
what do we do now? It's been a week. What do I do next? It's
I'm not really telling you what I think you should be saying.
No, I'm saying for us all.
Yeah, that's all we're doing at the moment.
Mm.
Yeah, and we've not had any sponsors so far say, oh, look, a lot of our support is broken into two halves, and we've not had anyone say, look, the second half isn't coming. Our biggest supporter is SL Sun Tour, and hopefully that second block will come through no problem.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, you can't blame these people if it doesn't, because they've got to look after themselves.
Exactly. I know how they feel, because me and Sarah are optometrists and the practice is closed. We can't go to work. So I know exactly how they feel. And it might be one of those things where a lot of companies say to us, look, you haven't spent the budget from this year, you haven't been racing, so roll that on to next year and we'll talk again. We'll just have to see. It's like Danny says. Who knows?
I run my own agency, and I was saying to Rachel, my wife, the other day, when you put the business plan forward, it was 8 years ago. When you write a business plan for a business and you build it for 8 years, you don't ever put in there as a potential threat, global pandemic, all your clients cancelling overnight, which is basically what happened to us. That's what happened. And it's not that my business isn't doing well, it's the fact that the whole industry is gone, and not just that industry, so.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we're not going to start having a long conversation about COVID, but off the back of what you just said there, George, they do ultimately have to get us back out there working, because the global economy will just collapse. So I'm living in the hope that, we're giving the NHS and the various other medical services around the world a chance to deal with this peak. But ultimately, we can't all live indoors for the next 5 years. It just doesn't work. So,
are you going to try the what do you call it when the
vaccine?
The vaccine, yeah. You're going to be the one first in line.
Absolutely not. No, I'm gonna trust the immune system and keep eating my veg. But who knows where it's going to go? Anyway, back to should we go back to bikes?
Yeah.
So you've got Matt Simmons with you this year. Obviously, very experienced racer, very good rider. Some good results behind him. He's going to be on track for you. Do you feel like that's an essential ingredient now for teams like you guys to be able to compete towards the overall, to have someone there doing this kind of stuff for you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge huge when it happens. Because the team have been we've invested in some time and equipment and stuff for on the track, and it's hard for one or two guys to do that on their own. So Matt's going to be there he's got a very good eye. I think he could answer a lot of these questions in much more depth than I can, probably. He has to think about it a little more. I think it doesn't come naturally to him. So he has a really good eye for everything when it comes to it. And I've spent time with Matt for our last two off seasons. I think we trained together with Phil Dixon and Matt Walker as well. And he's a very really sound, a lot like me, and my teammate Matt Walker is not all glitz and glamour. He just likes riding, and and I think someone like that's a really good investment for the team, because it's just an extra set of eyes on the hill. That's it.
What kind of equipment have you gone for, just out of interest?
Oh, we've got some of the same stuff that.
Is it Freelap?
No, I use Freelap. I see you've been using the Freelap.
That's got some of the new stuff. It's going to be quite tricky to use at the races. That's why I was wondering what you get.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, once we've got it working.
You're sponsored by them, aren't you? I'm not really sponsored by them, so I can say what I think.
You've gone for the special.
Using that app and the timing chip and all that stuff is not easy.
Yeah, it took us a while in San Remo to actually figure out what to do.
It's not really user friendly, I didn't find.
Yeah, once we had it figured, we were like, okay, the app's got to be open.
Yeah, phone's got to be lit up all day long.
Yeah, so yeah.
But no, they've got the team have invested in some stuff that the same gear that
Lloyd uses.
Specialized have been using, which is only good for timing sections.
Okay.
That is it. So you've got to have each beacon has to be within it. It's good for timing sections, but that's all. I use free-lap stuff, and I'm just trying to hoard as many watches as I can find.
Yeah, nice. So, obviously taking you out of the equation because you're obviously going to back yourself for the race wins and for the overall, as you should. Do you think we're going to see the same faces fighting for the podiums? Have you, who are you thinking is going to be on it?
I think so. Yeah, obviously, there's a couple of guys that have. Last year, when we talk about podiums, I think there was probably less than, you might know this, George, 8 people maybe on the podium, different faces.
Yeah.
So there's me,
regulars.
Amory, Loic, Laurie, Matt, Greg,
Troy, Lloris, Greg.
Troy, Loris. There's 7, there's 8.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Charlie Harris had a couple.
Yeah, there's 9. There's not many.
No.
So I don't think it's going to change. I think you've got Finn, you've got Matt. There's guys like Reese. There is some guys that on their day that can do it, like 100%. But to be consistent is another matter, like we've said. But it'd be good to see more people up there, especially if it would have helped me last year.
A bit, yeah.
Who's your favourite rider to watch, Danny? Who do you like? If you're not going to win, who? I mean, obviously you prefer probably Matt to win, but who?
Not even on a winning thing. Do you mean like who's the most entertaining? Or?
Yeah, who do you like? Is it the Piron on the ragged edge because he, or is it Bruni a bit more calculated?
Piron is on the ragged edge is impressive. But I've also seen Piron riding in Whistler, like fun riding, and he can ride. Like, obviously he can ride, but like he can throw big whips. He's stylish. He's not just that race machine, which a lot of people think. I think I have that stigma now. Maybe like I used to not so much. But as times changed and like with Instagram and stuff like that, was seeing what people can do. Yeah. Like it's made me sort of fade into that sort of racer attitude. But when I think about watching the racing, there's so many different styles now. You've got Loris, who's smooth, like looks really effortless. And then you've got Brooke and you've got Blinky and you've got them guys that are just no respect for anything and just smashing it. So it's hard to pick someone that I like to watch. It's nice to see Greg sometimes when he's riding well because it's so effortless. But I know he's pushed on over the last couple of years and his style, I believe, has changed. He's had to let it hang out a little more. I remember watching last year, speaking with Sophia last year, who obviously stands at the bottom watching. She said, I've never seen Greg ride like that. And I watch it back and I can see what she means. So Greg's really changed his style.
Here's a stat for you, and this isn't one I dug out. This isn't one Neil told me. If the World Cup Series last year had been run like an enduro, Piron would have
been given this question and I couldn't do it. I had to give it back to you.
Piron would have won by 4 seconds, and there's no question. Piron would have beaten Bruni.
He's got too much time on his hands. I thought I had time on my hands.
He's got no racing.
I read this question to Sophia, and she said,
"What?
Oh my God,
what
is happening?"
It had my name next to it, and I almost just deleted it. And I was like, "Nah, I'll just give it George."
Trio French riders are hard to bet against. Trio. Who's the third one?
Lorries.
Lorries.
Oh, true.
I'm going to skip some.
Yeah. Go where you want to
Let's
go.
go to Gwyn.
Yeah, of course.
Do you think he can regain the form and challenge for the overall?
Like, yeah, I see on the question you've put he looks good on the internet and all this, but anyone can look good on the internet. I was speaking to like yesterday it was, and he was saying how he comes into the season and you're watching everybody on Instagram and Facebook and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then you get to the first race and the cream always rises to the top, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then people just fade back away into their little, wherever they are.
Yeah.
But Gwyn, like, he can always turn it on, I guess. Like, I think he needs to get his heart set on a bike and just learn to ride it, maybe.
Yeah.
He seems to be changing a lot. Looks like he's maybe found something that he likes now, and it's just about waiting to see. And sure, he's working hard, and it'd be good to see him back up there, like, consistently, because he's putting some unreal race runs over the years, as we all well know, and I'd like to see him back up there. That'd be somebody else to get in the mix, and I think that's what we need.
Yeah.
I need the wins getting spreaded out a bit. Okay. How much interest did you take watching the women's race? I'm reshaping this question a little bit. And after the kind of shake-up we've had in the girls who are at the top, have you kind of got a girl you fancy to win some races and maybe win the overall this year? How are you feeling about how it might go?
I don't think like this, what we're going through now with this, they call it COVID-19 is the official term, isn't it? Well, with that, someone like Rachel will be hopefully sat in a house doing what she can to get better, because this is just helping her out. And I would love to see Rachel get back to winning ways, or get back to the front, because she works so hard and she has so many injuries and she's come back so many times.
Yeah.
And there's all these younger ones coming through, and I still think Rachel on her days.
Yeah. That run in Lenza had two.
Yeah.
When was that?
Yeah. World Champs 2018.
Yeah, that was just a couple.
And another thing with the women's race, which is hard, is the problem. When three of them get injured, it's just not deep at all. And yeah, I know last year the battle for, I think, first and second was quite the battle, but then after that, I'm sorry if I've missed anyone, or there was more of a battle than that. But after that, from what I can tell, there wasn't really much happening, and Marine was riding really well. I stood on the side of the track and watched her, and she was impressive. And I think she'll be.
I think she
really coming out of the blocks.
No shoe, didn't she?
Sorry.
The gap you talked about in the lower woods, they didn't.
She did it.
Yeah. So we have had one race this season, as I mentioned, your King of the Hill race up at Hamsterley.
Yeah.
First race runs, I raced that and saw you there. First race runs were in number board order. I don't know how, but people were struggling with lining up a bit, and I could see Jonesy, the BC commissaire's blood pressure rising a bit. Second runs were seeded, and you must have been able to see like the chaos that was about to ensue. So you grabbed a clipboard and you started lining people up, and at some point I remember you running back to the cabin to get one guy, and you were dragging people into line. What really struck me was that you knew pretty much every rider there by name. And I can't think of many World Cup racers that I've met that would have A, done that with a clipboard, or B, be so open and personable. Is that something you're conscious of? Is it something you try to do?
Yeah, as I've gotten older and as we've taken on the bike park, I have tried to do more like along those lines. Like I went that weekend in my camper, and I wasn't sure whether I was going to ride or whether I was going to like help out and like work, if you like. And there's a mixed feeling of people. I hear mixed feelings of me riding at that race. People complain, "Oh, he's just going to win," and then there's other people say, "Oh, but at least we can race against him."
Yeah.
And then, so I took the decision not to race, and I also did some Instagram. I filmed and put that online, and then yeah, I just thought I'd help out at the top because Jonesy was on his own. I think
Yeah.
he didn't have anyone to help line everybody up, and I quite enjoyed it. I think there was only 100 riders, so it wasn't too challenging. But
Your mum and
it's
dad.
something that I've never done, and I've always been on the other side of. So I thought, oh, here we go. Then here's my chance to help out.
Yeah. Your mum and dad are running the bike part. Does your dad still get as nervous before the World Cups?
To be honest, like when my parents don't come to as many races as they used to anymore, obviously with having the bike park, and my dad does his own thing with he's well into his super bikes and track bikes. He travels all around Europe doing that. So my dad doesn't even watch, to be honest. My dad can't watch.
No, I've seen video of him at the bottom, like just walking in circles, kind of.
And I don't know if my mum gets nervous. I'm sure she probably does, but she puts on a brave face, and I don't ever know about it. But I know she's always searching for a signal at Hamster trying to watch the race.
Does your dad get that nervous, Jack? He comes to all the racing.
He doesn't really. He's not emotional really. He's invested in it massively and he's well into it. But yeah, he's cool as a cucumber, old Phil. He just kind of sees it all unfold, and then he's a really good coach, my dad. So he's always quite nice to have around me at the races because he just tells me as it is. It's this.
How do you take that?
Depends what it is. Depends what mood I'm in. Sometimes
My dad tells me how it is as well. And
yeah.
my dad and my dad have had quite the relationship over the years. It's all just because they want the best.
Okay, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Now it's usually fine. What the problem now is like, and that's why I've made an effort to get a proper mechanic, is when my dad's trying to help look at lines, he's trying to help with the pits, he's trying to drive around. If I'm then also trying to get him to help with the bike, and he's not that experienced on working on mountain bikes, that gets a bit stressful. That's the part that takes the fun out of it for us. So when we go racing this year, he'll just be coming to go and look at lines, do some timing, be around and help me with that stuff, and he won't have the pressure of trying to help me change tyres, because that's when we start yelling at each other.
Yeah, my dad doesn't mix his words when it comes to telling me how it is.
Yeah, and as you say, it's just because he's looking out for you, isn't it? So,
and I think when they are upset or angry after a race, they're more upset for you, not in an angry way at you. When I was younger, me and my dad, we would drive home from, I don't know, Fort William and not say a word because he thought I hadn't done my best or whatever. Whereas now it's not like that so much. Like if I have come down and I haven't, it's like if I haven't won now, because I'm that close to him, and I'll ring him and I'm gutted on the phone. It's like, oh, well, he can say the wrong thing sometimes, but it's more just because he's disappointed for me, not angry at me.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we're just coming up to nearly 2 hours there, and I'm not that confident. Well, I don't know. I've never recorded for 2 hours before on Zoom, so let's. I hope there's no cut off at 2 hours. Let's call it there. Hopefully, we'll all be back at the races soon, and we'll have a decent season to look forward to. Thanks ever so much for making the time to come on tonight, Danny. We really appreciate it, and best of luck for 2020. We always love watching you ride.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Overall.
Where's the best place for people to keep track of you? Is it Insta?
Yeah, Instagram, there's my name on there is at Danny Hart 1.
Yeah.
And then we've got Facebook, which I'm doing quite a lot on these days as well. I'll probably do some live Q&As in the near future and stuff like that. And then my YouTube channel as well, which is, I'm not entirely sure what the specific name is, but if you just search my name, then I should come up. That's doing quite well at the moment.
Do you want to push yours, Jack?
Yeah, so similar to Danny, social media, and then search me on YouTube, and we've got the Mountain Bike Live series that we're running on there, which is showing kind of behind the scenes of the racing. Obviously stuck in limbo a little bit with that. May do some stuff at home, but we'll see. We're limited, as Danny says. We can't really go riding properly, so
No.
I don't want to put out boring content. So yeah,
No fit for racing neither.
well, I'm really lucky. Like, I don't like gyms, so I've got my own watt bike, my own rower, my own rack. I've got everything I need here. So yeah, that investment in myself that I made a couple of years ago has been, I was ready for the
It's the
apocalypse.
space that's hard for that.
Yeah, I converted the garage carport into like a gym workshop. So
There you go.
it's I'm glad. I'm now very glad I did that. Yeah.
Cool.
I've got some stuff.
Well, we're at Making Up the Numbers Racing on Instagram. Thanks very much to our sponsors for the podcast, Hope Technology, Revolution Bike Park, World, and Singletrackworld.com. We'll be back with another episode very soon. Thanks very much for listening.